Hi, hello, and welcome in our video. In this video, we will be talking about exporting and importing requirements to and from Excel. It is by far the most used method for requirements round trip. Basically, for round tripping, you have just two options, Excel and Recif. I need to mention that for initial import of requirements, you can also use text file, but you are not able to use text file to update requirements, so you are not able to use this as round trip option. When you are doing round trips, Excel is more preferable option than Recif. It is just because it is slightly easier to export as well as any problems are relatively easier to recognize, find and manage because they are more evident, more apparent right away than in contrast when you are using Recif. This is quite hands-on topic, so let's jump directly to the exercise. But first, let me mention, as I mentioned a few times already in another videos, that whenever you are importing something, please always use chain sets. You are working with a large number of artifacts at the same time, so if there will be any problem or any undesirable change, and trust me, sooner or later it will be, then you will just discard the chain set and you are okay. But if you are working directly in a stream, then you are out of luck. Therefore, the very first thing I will do is to create chain set. Okay, so now I am in a chain set. I will click on modules and now we will be focusing on exporting artifacts to Excel. And we can export modules, we can export module artifacts, and we can also export base artifacts. The process is basically the same. So if I would like to export modules, I can select modules, for example, those three, click on this icon and click on export three artifacts. And you can choose CSV, XLS, or XLSX. I will use the last one. Okay, and our modules were exported. I have it right here. All right, you see, this is my export. Those are my modules I exported. You can see right away that I have just three modules here, and I don't see module content. So I don't see artifacts from those modules. I see those modules as separate artifacts. So why would you do that? Why would you export just module? Well, one of the reasons may be to change artifact attributes, because for example, in a module, I can also create some more columns, for example, priority, and for example, I don't know, description, etc., etc. I can have different artifact attributes here. And I can change this description, and I also can change priority if I will go up here and assign, for example, to system specification this priority. Okay, so you see, I was able to change priority because I assigned it to systems specification, and I can change description everywhere. Excellent. So you can use those columns, you can use artifact attributes in the same way for modules as you are using for any requirement in a module. Therefore, if you have a couple of attributes in a multiple of modules and you would like to bulk change those attributes, yeah, you can export those modules, you can change attributes in Excel and then upload Excel back and change those attributes. So this is one of the way how can you do it. You see, you will be exporting everything you have as this column. So if I will export once again those artifacts, now I will include all four. You see right now I also have priority and description here. Then I can export it and I will see it in my Excel. All right. So you see I also have priority here and I also have description. So whatever you set up in a view, you can also save a view and export view. Then everything will be also in Excel. If this is what I would like to have, I can click on views, I can save this view, new view, excellent, and I can go to this view and export view to Excel, and it will be the same. You see export number 10, and we have priority here and description content here. So you can either click and select all modules or artifacts you would like to export, or you can create a view and export this view. This is exactly the same for base artifacts and module artifacts. Now, let me jump to the module and let me work with module artifacts because this will be like 90% of the scenarios where you will be exporting or importing some artifacts. So I will go to stakeholder requirements and you will see the export is the same. You can, for example, select artifacts one by one, or you can select the first one. I will go down here and hold Shift, click, and hold Shift, click, and you see I selected multiple at the same time, or you can create view. First of all, I will export this one, and the process is exactly the same icon, the same export 9 artifact, the same XLSX, and the same export number 11. Perfect, you see export number 11, and we have here ID, primary text, is heading, parent binding, module, and artifact type. But Igor, you mentioned that whatever you have as column in a view, you will have in this Excel. But if I will navigate back, I have just content and ID here. And in this Excel table, you also have is heading, parent binding, module, artifact types. So what the hell? Well, this is really important to know that although you have just ID and content in your DNG, here in Excel, you have another parts that are mandatory. So is heading, parent binding, module, and artifact types are mandatory in every Excel export or import. So what is heading means? It is self-explanatory. Is this text heading or not? Introduction, true. So introduction is heading. Yes, ANSI will not be a heading, so let's see. Excellent, false. But purpose of the document is heading. Let's see. And of course it is. So it is self-explanatory. Is this artifact a heading? If so, then you will have true here. If not, then you will have false here. Easy. Parent binding. This is about hierarchy. So this is child of artifact with ID 51637. You see? Excellent. This is also child of artifact 51637. So this one. But this is child of artifact 51615. So of this one. So parent binding is about hierarchy. With this, you can create structure. What are headings, what are children, and what are subheading, subchildren, etc. etc. So this is parent binding. Then you have module. You will not have module here when you are exporting base artifacts, but if you are exporting module artifacts, this is the ID of the module where this module artifact is. All right, and the last one is artifact type. Every artifact needs to have artifact type, so this is necessary for every artifact. Anytime you will be exporting or importing requirements, every time you will be exporting and importing artifacts, then you will need to include is heading, parent binding, module, and artifact type. All right, one more important thing when talking about this kind of export, so just clicking or holding shift and bulk selecting. This is great, but only if you are working with less than 200 requirements. Because anytime you would like to work with more than 200 requirements, you need to select some other kind of selection. So basically, it will be views, and you are not able to do that by just clicking and selecting. And it's done for exporting or to any other kind of selection. So you need to work with less than 200 requirements. Otherwise, you need to use filters or views. Perfect. So we can transition directly to filters and views. This is not a video about views and filters, so you should have already knowledge about what is view, what is filter. But let me tell you that you can create specific view, specific filter, and based on this view and based on this filter, you can export requirements. So for example, let me include priority, need, used in modules, clarity, and I will also create some custom attribute that can have multiple values. For example, this one, why not? And I will create it and assign it, for example, to information. Excellent. I will jump back and I added it here. Okay, now I can change need, priority, clarity, custom. So for example, okay, here we have priority, need, clarity, and for information, I will change custom to those three values, and here this one value. I will also reuse this artifact, so we have something here used in modules. So I will jump back, I will go to module, for example, systems requirement specification, create, add existing artifact, modules, stakeholder requirements. Okay, and it was 51782. Okay, so this one, jump back, hazard and risk, create, add existing artifact, modules, again, stakeholder requirement specification, this ID, excellent. So I reused it. I can jump back to stakeholder requirement specification, refresh, and we have this icon here. Perfect. So you see, we have in modules and more information about another modules. Excellent. Now let's create some filter and view. So for example, this is a view. Excellent. I will save it right now. Okay, I will leave it personal, just this module. Everything is all right. So now we have this view saved, but I can also create filter. I will click, I will search for artifact type. And for example, I don't want to see any heading. So is not any of and heading. I don't want headings in my view. Excellent. So those are artifacts without headings. I can click on save, and this is my view for export. Right now, I don't need to select anything. I can go here and I can export all 71 of 91 artifacts. So in this module, there are 91 artifacts, but in this view for export is 71 artifacts. So I will click here, export view to this one. Okay, and it's exported. All right, so you see we have artifact type, module, parent binding, and is heading here because those were mandatory, but we also have our custom attribute, clarity, reused count, need, and priority. Okay, so why I chose those one? I chose priority and need because those were already there. So you see, this is some enumeration values, and I would like to see how you can import back some enumeration values. But you also have reuse count. Why I choose this one? Because this is interesting. It is called differently here than in DNG. I can navigate back, and how it's called? This is called used in modules. So if you are creating some Excel table and you are using some headings here, then this is called differently than in DNG. The best practice is always to export something, anything, any requirement with headings and with columns you would like to use, and then you can create your own content. But it's always easier to export something and then to include some content and some artifact values than to start from the scratch and create everything by yourself, because some artifact attributes may be called differently in Excel and in DNG. All right, and why I included and created this custom attribute? Because I wanted to show you some enumeration with multiple values. And you see that you can use simple comma to differentiate between multiple values in artifact attribute. All right, so that was exporting artifacts to Excel. Right now we are already semi-pro in exporting artifacts. Now let's focus on this example. This Excel may be used for round tripping, so for exporting artifacts and then changing those artifacts and importing them back into the DNG. So I can go here and change, for example, this primary text, and I will make change in Excel. I also can delete this one and just write change. I can, for example, make this text bold. I can make this text bold and green. And for example, I can make this text bold and red. I can also set priority. For example, we have stakeholder requirement here, so I can make low priority and luxury. We can also, for example, change clarity. So clarity will be low, excellent, and I can also create some custom attributes. So I will use likely and very likely for some information. For example, this one, excellent. I can also go here. I will insert this row here. I will not use any ID. I will create very new artifact with no priority, no need, but it will be information, and I would like it to be in the same hierarchy as this one below. So I will copy everything here. Perfect. Excellent. Now I will save it. I will navigate back, and here I click on Create, Import Artifact, Import Requirements from CSV. I will browse for our export number 12. I will import requirements into a module. I will search, and we are searching for stakeholder requirement specification. Okay. We have different options. We will explain it later, but I will use the second one, finish, and the comma separated file was imported, but with some warning. Okay, let's see. Okay, reuse count not found. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So I can go to the stakeholder requirement specification, and you see, this is green, this is black and bold, this is red. And also, we created this very new artifact. And I can jump out of this view because I would like to see also heading. Excellent. And in this view, we also made change in this last artifact here. So low, luxury, low. Perfect. So everything worked, and this custom attribute right here, likely and very likely. Perfect. So this is how you can use Excel for round tripping. You can export something, change something, and then import it back. All right, just one information, I am a little surprised this one worked, because often in many versions of Doors Next, if you are working and you are just changing formatting, then this is not enough for DNG to recognize the change and the formatting is not changed. But if you will change anything, for example, here we change text, here we change text, then yes, also DNG recognize the change and also will change formatting. So if you are working with Doors Next and you are importing something and your format is not changing, that's because there is nothing else that can indicate to DNG that something was changed, and that's why DNG is not changing your format. So really, I'm a little surprised this one works, so it's probably fixed in this last version. Let me also show you if artifact attribute values are case sensitive or not. So I will navigate back to our export, and for example, for this stakeholder requirement, I will use high with lowercase h. I will save, I will navigate back here, artifacts, and I will again import it just very quickly. Perfect, let me show. Okay, that's great. And you see it worked. So artifact values are not case sensitive, but watch out. This is again just different in different versions of Doors Next. So you may experience that in your version, your artifact attribute values are case sensitive. So watch out. This is not the same for all versions of Doors Next. All right, there are just two more things I would like to show you. First is that if I will navigate back to Excel and I will create another sheet, and now I will save it. So this new sheet, sheet number 3, is the first one, and our sheet with importing is the second one. I will also change something here. Excellent. Then if I will try to import it back, there will be a problem because DNG is only looking on the first sheet. Let's see. Import requirements into module. Excellent. Finish. And you see we have this error. So this is because we have our sheet as a second one. We can have multiple sheets, but the one we are using for import needs to be first. So now I can save it. I can do it once again. Okay, so everything is the same. I just changed the sheets and you see it's okay. The same warning because of reused count, but basically it's okay. I can show you that now at the end I will have two artifacts with high. Excellent. So it worked. So again, just information. If you have multiple sheets, then you need to have your sheet as sheet number 1. And the last information is that if I will navigate back and if I will try to import artifact, CSV file, then you see we can import requirements into a folder, all right, import requirements into a module, all right, but so far we only updated artifacts and create new artifacts for entries, but we can also delete artifacts. So if I will go to the Excel and if I will delete some artifacts from Excel, I can also delete those artifacts from the module. Because again, right now we just updated artifacts and created new one, but we can also delete artifacts. So let's jump back to Excel and here let's delete those artifacts. Let's also delete all those artifacts, all those stakeholder requirements that have some priority or need or reused count. Okay, let's delete this one. And also, for example, let's delete just this ID. What will happen with this artifact? All right, I will save it. Now I will navigate back. I will browse, select our export. I will pick module, AMR stakeholder requirements. Excellent. So this option for deletion. Great. So it's working. I jumped back to the stakeholder requirements and you see those artifacts are gone right now. So we deleted artifacts. And what about this one? You see, there is probably different ID. I can go here and Control Z. Okay, 51652. And here you have 53349. Why? Because from their perspective, it looks like I just created new artifact with this primary text, with this information in artifact attributes, because there is no ID here. So I didn't have ID. So, okay, I will create this artifact for you. So from the perspective of this artifact, let's see, I will click on history. So open artifact history. And you see, you don't know what time is it right now, but I can tell you that it was created right now. So this is actually new artifact. The old one is lost because it was deleted, and this one is newly created. So that's why there is new artifact ID. It's not the same artifact with a new ID, no. That artifact was deleted and this artifact was created right now. Perfect. And this is it. This was more than enough information for not that basic overview. Right now, you should know that it is super easy to export artifacts. You can create custom views to indicate what information, therefore what artifact attributes, and also what artifacts you are interested in, and you can export this view. You also learned that you can use Excel to create, update, or delete artifacts in the module. And you also know that you can do initial import of requirements from Excel, but it is the best practice to create simple export first to have proper structure, and then you can continue working in Excel. Alright, so I really hope this video was informative for you, and if so, I look forward to see you in our next videos.